The legendary rise of Tupperware wasn't just about plastic bowls, it was a psychological weapon designed to trap an entire generation in a cult of domestic performance. This iconic brand, once synonymous with suburban prosperity, systematically dismantled its own future by refusing to evolve beyond the living room parties that built it. Imagine a world where your kitchen cupboard is a status symbol. In the 1950s, Earl Tupper didn't just invent a container, he invented a revolution in social engineering. The Tupperware Party was a stroke of marketing genius that bypassed traditional retail, turning stay-at-home mothers into independent sales agents. It was a pyramid-shaped dream that fed on social pressure. You weren't just buying a seal-tight container, you were performing your identity as a capable homemaker in front of your neighbors. This emotional hostage situation created a cult-like loyalty that lasted for decades. But behind the pastel-colored lids and the burping sound of a perfectly sealed bowl, a ticking time bomb was being constructed, and it was made of pure, stubborn complacency. For nearly half a century, the company operated under the delusion that its direct sales model was invincible. They ignored the digital disruption that was sweeping across every other retail sector in the 1990s and 2000s. While competitors embraced e-commerce and mass-market distribution, Tupperware clung to the dying relic of in-home demonstrations. They viewed the internet not as a storefront, but as a threat to their social ecosystem. This wasn't just a business oversight, it was a strategic suicide pact. The brand began to age out. Younger consumers didn't want to spend their evenings sitting through a high-pressure sales pitch for a salad spinner. They wanted convenience, speed, and sustainability, three areas where Tupperware was woefully ill-equipped to compete. Then came the environmental reckoning. As the world turned its back on single-use and non-recyclable plastics, Tupperware found itself on the wrong side of history. The same durability that made their products legendary became their biggest liability in a world obsessed with plastic waste. They were the architects of the plastic crisis, yet they failed to pivot their messaging or their materials until the very last moment. By the time they attempted to refresh their brand, the ship had not just sailed, it had sunk. They were bleeding cash, struggling with massive debt, and losing their grip on the very sales force that once treated the company like a religion. What makes this collapse so fascinating is the sheer arrogance of the leadership. They believed that their brand name was a moat wide enough to protect them from the realities of modern commerce. They underestimated the speed at which their core demographic was disappearing. The Tupperware lady was no longer a symbol of financial independence. She was a relic of a patriarchal social structure that had long since been dismantled. The company tried to survive by shifting to retail shelves, but it was too little, too late. They had no presence, no brand resonance with the youth, and no answer to the flood of cheaper, trendier alternatives appearing on Amazon and TikTok. Think about the irony here. A company that thrived on the intimacy of personal connection failed because it couldn't connect with the modern digital soul. They built a global empire on the strength of a handshake and a demonstration, only to find that in a world of one-click ordering, nobody wanted to shake your hand anymore. Their story is a masterclass in how institutional bias and a failure to recognize a cultural shift can turn a billion-dollar household name into a cautionary tale. They were so busy protecting the ritual of the party that they forgot to protect the survival of the business itself. The shelves of your pantry might still hold a few pieces of faded plastic, but the company that sold them is a ghost of a bygone era. They lost their relevance, their market, and finally, their autonomy. It's a stark reminder that even the most iconic brands are only ever one cultural pivot away from absolute irrelevance. If this fact about the fall of a retail titan shocked you, you must watch our video about how the world's largest bookstore chain was dismantled by a single miscalculation.